gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Geeks Who Like Sports, episode 104. Hello, as always, I am Ray Carso in beautiful Los Angeles, California, joined by my best friend the entire world over in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Lee Elias. Lee, how you doing today, buddy?
2 years straight of Geeks Who Like Sports.
Yeah.
That's what 104 signifies, because 52
right.
plus 52 is 104. I'm not the best at math, Ray, but I did that. May have used a calculator. Obviously bad at math. Anyway, this is the two-year mark, man. Like, we've done these every week. I don't think we ever took a week off. It's not our 104th episode overall with the leaderboard stuff. We're probably in the 120s. Right. But this is our 2-year anniversary today. Happy anniversary, buddy.
Yes, happy anniversary. We got a lot of things, a lot of big things going on with the show. Also, this week, technically, this is the second episode of the week.
I know.
If you're listening to this, we had 103.5
or
however we're labeling it, as we did our first ever live Twitch stream, and that is going to be an episode for the first episode of first hour, basically.
That was fun.
So, yeah, it was a lot of fun. So we
what
basically,
that means,
in a way, this is going to be
this might be the last non-live episode we do for a while.
That's right. We are planning at the moment, starting with 105, that we will be doing this live every Saturday at some point. Obviously, keep an eye on the schedule. And we will let everybody know, but we'll be doing it live on Twitch, and they'll be turning that into the podcast. Right. So you can interact with us, watch it live. We'll see how this first one goes. But, that should be a lot of fun.
We spoke to the podcasting gods, and they said, do it live. We're going to do it live.
Do it.
All right. We'll do it live. That's what the podcasting gods have said to us. And that's why we're going to do it live. It was a really fun experience. And no, seriously, man. First off, happy birthday to you. Last week was your birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
2-year anniversary. Look, I want everybody listening to know this. I remember the conversation Ray and I had just over 2 years ago. When we were having these conversations on the phone every night. I said, we should just get on and do a podcast about it. And I'll never forget. Well, what should we call it? It's Geeks Who Like Sports. That's just the most descriptive name of all time. That's what it's going to be called.
Lee spitballed that, and I'm just like, that's perfect.
It's perfect.
It's great.
And we did it. We started doing it. Now I always like to say this. On an anniversary every year, I'm going to say this. There is a hidden episode that was never aired. The very first pilot of Geeks Like Sports was never aired, mainly because my computer decided to lose the footage, because it was the first podcast I ever did, and I didn't know what I was doing back then, and now we have way more advanced equipment, I would say. But, the Phantom episode, where we probably didn't talk about anything special. But... Yes,
episode 0. That's right, episode 0. Yeah. I don't even know if I have episode 0.
I don't think it exists. I think it got deleted right away.
I might have probably trashed it after.
What I do remember saying after that record was like, well, listen, we probably needed a practice run anyway. Right. I mean, because who knows how long this is going to go? Who knows how long this is going to go? But no. I remember, Ray, again, last little reminiscence here, but I remember when we got to a year. I remember thinking at a year, if we can get to a year, 52 episodes, let's see where we can go with this thing. And it's been another year, and our audience has more than tripled in size. We're on streamlounge.io doing streams. We do the show every week. We have merchandise coming, which we'll talk about later in the episode. That's 100% here. We said it would be here for 104. It's here. It's amazing how much this has grown. We've done PAX West twice, once in person, once online. We've done Star Trek Con. I mean... it's amazing to see the growth, and I got to say, the audience, those of you listening, I'm amazed by you. I mean, the community that has been built from this. Again, we always knew that community was out there, but we didn't know how cool this would be, and I love interacting with all of you on Facebook, and I know Ray likes interacting on Twitter, and obviously here and on Stream Lounge. But yeah, listen, Ray, seriously, congratulations on 2 years. I think that's a huge milestone for us, and I'm looking forward to the next 25 years.
Yeah. Yes, congrats, buddy, and thank you to all of you who have been here along for the ride, whether you're here with episode 1 or episode 100. We're happy that you're here, and that, now that we're here at the 104, and we, again, tell your friends, tell them to join the Facebook, the Instagram, Twitter, spread the word, and buy a T-shirt. Like Lee said, we'll have more details
for T-shirt. Yeah, just keep just so everyone knows, keep a lookout on the Facebook page. We're probably going to sell that through Facebook Marketplace. Either way, they're going to be available when this airs. So if you want to get a T-shirt, support the cause. Keeping in mind that we are not making hardly any money on these, if at all. These are just supporting things. Take a look. We'd love to have you get a T-shirt. We'll wear them. And look. This is just the beginning. T-shirts, hats, mugs, merchandising, Geeks Who Like Sports, the flamethrower. Kids love that one. So, oh man.
Yes, so
Can't do that anymore.
happy 2-year anniversary. This is a good one. This is a big episode. A lot of great things. Again, we talked about a lot of big things. The Twitch episode 103.5. Things like the Darnold trade and whatnot with the Jets. So we're not going to get to that.
Right.
Those.
If you're looking for that, go watch it's the last podcast before this one.
Right, exactly. But we still have a lot of stuff to talk about. We have a lot of stuff going on in baseball. Obviously, the NHL and NBA are in their final stretches. We have some movie news. We have Sony messing things up again for everyone. And, of course, to kick things off, the one thing we couldn't talk about on Wednesday that we're now talking about here on Saturday morning, April the 10th, Falcon and Winter Soldier, Episode 4, has now officially debuted, and it was a doozy. Lee, this was probably my favorite episode thus far of the series. It's called The World Is Watching. It really kind of starts to bring a lot of things together, starts to tie up a lot of loose threads. Zemo again steals the show. And of course, we finally see John Walker kind of go off the deep end. The big thing here is that Walker takes the serum and is now a super soldier as well. And then he kills somebody. And everybody saw it with their cell phones, and we have some theories on that. But Lee, what are your thoughts so far on Falcon and Winter Soldier?
Right, this was the Empire Strikes Back episode, right, where things take a very dark turn, and that it's kind of left open at the end. And like I said, we talked about there probably are some obvious places this is going, but it's very much like what's going to happen next type ending, right?
Yeah.
Where some of the previous episodes ended with, that's a nice place to stop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This one ends with a bloodied Captain America shield. A lot of echoes of John Walker's Captain America to Steve Rogers' Captain America in this episode in terms of imagery, of the way he slams the shield in that man's body, very reminiscent of Steve Rogers taking out Iron Man's arc reactor, not killing him. So just some shots of the shield, how he throws the shield, showing that there's a contrast here between both Captain America. Captain Americas. Sorry, I didn't know the right punctuation on that for a second. But, the thing that I spoke about on stream that I wanted to talk about here is that, the serum amplifies whatever you are, right? And there was that great scene in Captain America, the First Avenger, where the doctor says it's not about being the best soldier, it's about being the best person, right? And Steve Rogers, as we said, was actually a pretty horrible soldier, right? Physically couldn't keep up. Was smart, but didn't follow orders that well. Right, but he was a good guy, right, and that's what was amplified, and I think
had a true moral compass.
Right, and that was the level that we all wanted to aspire to, at least from a comic book level. And John Walker is a perfect soldier, for lack of a better word, right? Yeah. He's got 3 Medals of Honor. They dive into that, and the people don't know what he had to do, which was funny because it's like soldiers have to do what they have to do to survive. And when he took the serum, he became an amplified perfect soldier. He has to get his mission done, period. Yeah. No questions asked,
sees
right?
The Flag Smashers as terrorists. He has to kill them. He has to destroy them. He has to dismantle them. He sees them as a threat to freedom and a threat to America. And that's it. That's it. And period. Funny, black and white.
Exactly, right? I do think there's a gray thing about troops with PTSD that they're trying to talk about too, but not so much in the point that we're making right now. But, it's funny, a lot of talk at the end. This is what's funny about this show, is people go, like, he killed an innocent man and he's going to go to jail. It's like, well, no, he killed a terrorist,
right,
quote unquote, and he was hunting this person after seeing his best friend die. I hope you've seen the episode, by the way.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
Yeah, but it's one of those things of, like, he actually probably didn't do anything wrong. Outside killing a person who was surrendering. Right. So, I mean, there's a lot of gray area and like what's going to happen next with that. Ray thinks there's going to be a kind of a military tribunal here where he'll be relegated from the Captain America position to someplace else. They probably they wouldn't discharge somebody for that in real life, but that doesn't mean that's what they'll do here. It's great. A buddy of mine who watches the show, who's in the military, points out to me every week the inconsistencies with the real military. But he actually made a really funny. This is a total side note, but he made a funny. Note for me. So Captain America, the current Captain America's, the flag on his suit is actually on the opposite side of where it would be on a military suit. And my friend told me, he said that's done on purpose because any on-screen military uniform must be incorrect. It actually must be wrong or they can't put it on film. right? That's
interesting.
Yeah, which actually, it's funny. He reminded, because I actually didn't know that, but he reminded me of that. So that's why that if you are in the military, his flag is on the other side instead of where it would normally be on a uniform. Keeping in mind too that the Captain America uniform is not a legit military uniform.
Right. Yeah. But they can flub with that one a little bit more.
Right. But yeah, I mean, look. I really like this episode. Very dark. Really shows the conflict in Sam with taking the shield. I really love the line about how Sam's sister had said that Captain America didn't represent my America, so why am I holding on to the mascot? Really going into the gray area of America with this in a really well written. I don't want to say the word tasteful. It's written in a way that you can agree with it no matter where you stand. Like I don't think it's going over political. You know what I mean? Which is great.
It shows every side of the argument without taking a side to an argument,
and that's great. That's so important, I think, to continue conversations, and that's one of these things that comic book films and comic books in general can do because they don't take place here. And then obviously Daniel Bruhl is totally stealing this show.
Yes.
In a great way. But just he's a bad guy you love. I mean, those are the best ones, right?
Yeah, you start to see his more sinister side here. He starts playing both sides against themselves. And then, of course, in classic villainous fashion, escapes in the end. Which, again, spoiler alert, leads me to believe...
I think we're past the big spoilers already.
Right, yeah, no, exactly. Again, there were some surprises in the episode. I'm surprised they killed Battlestar. But again, it also kind of pushed Walker over the edge a little bit. He talks about how... the stuff that he saw. And again, there's two really poignant conversations. Zemo asks Sam, would he have taken the serum if he was given the option? And Sam blatantly says no. And clearly, and that's a big deal, right? Like, and Zemo, of course, also makes the argument about the people who take it are supremacists, that they automatically just affect the people who want more power and have more power are going to, try to put themselves above others.
Makes a great quote about Steve Rogers.
Yes. Again, saying basically that Steve was the exception, right? That he even admits that Steve Rogers was the exception to that rule. But that's, again, there's very few of those throughout history. And Sam kind of says that, I would never do it. Whereas Walker has the talk with Battlestar, and Battlestar brings up the point, like, could you imagine how many people we could have saved in Afghanistan if we had that serum? And it's one of those things where, again, also a guy in war and a guy who's not in war. Obviously, Sam has fought his share of battles and done a lot of things for the Air Force. But, John Walker clearly has seen some traumatic things on the front lines. It's alluded to again here. It's alluded to throughout the series, but it alluded to very much here again, where he talks about what he did to earn his Medals of Honor were the worst days of his life because of all the people that were lost and whatnot. And it's just a really interesting take. And then obviously, so you see that's why he kind of, in a way, crosses a line once Battlestar dies. And also, again, he's been injured in battle. He's got a head injury and during all this and whatnot. And I wonder how much that's going to come up. But again, they very much have that PTSD overtone, which I think is a big deal here. Leading into what I believe will be happening in the series, which is that in the next episode, like Lee said, I think that he'll face a tribunal. He'll lose the rank of Captain America. But I think that's also why he'll be taken behind the scenes and turned into U.S. agent proper at some point. Then Sam and Bucky will fight for the shield, with the series culminating in them taking down the Flag Smashers. And then we find out at the end again, we still believe Sharon Carter is the power broker. And I think that Zemo is... a lot of folks are talking about Zemo becoming part of the Thunderbolts. I don't think they're going to do the Thunderbolts that way.
It'd be a stretch. Yeah, it would be a stretch.
They might, but I don't see it.
I could see them.
But I do. I do think we'll see Zemo at least one more time in this series, where we kind of know where he's going and what he's doing, and that he's out there. He's on the run.
Are going to find him. I think that the Wakandans are the real question mark here. Actually, there was some rumors today about potentially Chadwick Boseman maybe showing up in this show. Even though he's passed, there was a rumor today that he might somehow
he had shot something possibly beforehand,
which would be interesting. But look, the other thing too is that I think that your hypothesis is very possible. I don't really know where it's going to go. I can tell you too that it's going to be very interesting to see what they do if they bring back Isaiah Bradley. I mean, there's a lot of big question marks right now for me on just the directions they can go. But it's all about the players, right? You got the power broker, you got Sam and Bucky, you got John Walker now. until Battlestar comes back with a metal arm 2 episodes from now and is the new Winter Soldier. No, he's dead. He's very dead. Then you got Zemo, and then you got the Wakandans. I mean, there's a lot, and then like again, I don't think we'll see them, but like, where are the rest of the Avengers? Right? Like there's that question's always there. And again, before we jump too far, we did see War Machine in the first episode. So it is possible we may see him again or some of the other Avengers again. Right. It's also possible we won't. But again, I think if anything, Ray, with you and me, it's like we've tempered ourselves with the Marvel shows.
Yes.
Damn the Mandalorian for being so good. But again, if I had to rate this, it's another 9 out of 10 this episode.
Yeah.
So was episode 3, to be fair. And it's going the right direction. Make sure you watch our live stream of it. You can watch the replay on streamlaunch.io at any time. You can watch that with us.
Streamlaunch.io. And again, you bring up a good point. I think something that you mentioned the Wakandans, I think is a good idea. We know WandaVision sets up Doctor Strange 2. What if Zemo escaping sets up Black Panther 2?
Panther 2. That's a great thought. And Black Panther 1 was very much surrounded a theme just like that with finding Claw.
Yeah.
So,
right, exactly. Claw's dead, Killmonger's dead. Like it would make sense that you would need another big bad for Black Panther. I don't think they're going to do Man-Ape for very obvious reasons. Lots of
reasons with that one.
Lots of reasons. But I think that they're going to. I think Zemo would be a perfect villain for Black Panther 2.
The question I have with Black Panther 2 is at some point they're going to have to explain Chadwick Boseman not being Black Panther. So it's going to be very interesting how they decide to do it. I'm 100% sure they'll do a great job with that. But it's going to be very interesting. And I again, we shouldn't underestimate the level of importance on that. That may be one of the most beloved characters in Marvel. And it's funny when he passed, people like, how did he not tell Marvel? Like, I'm sure that just wasn't top of mind, when he was on his deathbed, guys. But Marvel will figure it out, and Shuri is going to be the Black Panther. They've already said that, so I'm sure that Black Panther 2 will surround that storyline.
Right. And again, we had Shuri mentioned in this episode, right? Like very briefly, that she was part of the reason. She was one of the key people in breaking Winter Soldier's programming. Right. We had a really poignant cutscene at the very beginning, flashback at the very beginning of this episode. Well done. Which again kind of just goes over again the overarching themes of PTSD in soldiers and whatnot. It was probably Sebastian Stan's best acted scene.
I think so.
Of the series.
This is what I've said before, that I know that Bucky and Winter Soldier are monotonous characters, the same character. That could actually be very hard to do. And he does a really good job with it. It's tough to seem like that. Schwarzenegger does that really well. Obviously the Terminator. The reason why the Terminator is so great is because he has no emotion. It's not the easiest thing to do. And to be fair, like they add just enough jokes in with Bucky, that kind of sarcastic humor that he has, which is always funny. But that was a really well done scene, and it gave Sebastian Stan a tiny bit of range. Which was good, right? But look, the camaraderie between Sam and Bucky is really fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes. They haven't really dove into that since episode 2. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I really think the next episode is going to be again. My theory is the next episode is going to center on who gets the shield now, and I think that's when you're going to really see Sam and Bucky's relationship go deeper. So
and this is assuming they take the shield back from John Walker. I mean, there's also, like I said, I don't know if they're going to go here, but there's also the other side of that where he's a super soldier and who's going to stop him kind of thing. I mean, look, the episode does end with everyone watching, including Sam and Bucky. And the Flag Smashers, which was just kind of...
they're all... everybody's just in shock that he crossed that line.
Right.
Like, it's a big deal, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We'll also see what happens, again, with Zemo. I want to mention one other thing that was brought to my attention, which I thought was very funny. They put purposely one of the few lines of humor in this particular episode was when they make fun of, much like Bucky has a staring problem, as they talk about... They mentioned Zemo does a head tilt thing whenever he's kind of going evil. And he purposely kind of corrects his head when he does one thing because he gets very self-conscious. But it was also pointed out that Wanda does the same head tilt when she's about to do something. So now they're calling it the Sokovian head tilt of evil.
Death.
So the Sokovian head tilt of death. And so, it was very funny that I had that point up. But what else?
Yeah,
I guess
them
Sokovians
and
do
every
is they
mother
dance.
throughout history.
Well, yeah, exactly. Something's
What'd
gonna
you say to
happen
me?
when you,
What? The Sokovian head tilt of death, of doom.
Yes. So Doom's another guy. Doom's a different character.
Totally. We'll see him one
The
day.
Latvian Latvian.
That's more of a this. That's more of a head tilt back. Like,
Yeah,
that's what he does. Yeah.
Doom.
Doctor Doom will return
eternal.
in
Doom
X-Men
is
4.
Eternal. Yeah.
So
but
you thought you
speaking
were
of
eternal.
Sokovians and their moves, this was hysterical. So we found out during the week that the dance scene was actually about 30 seconds long. That it was longer than what they showed on. If you're not watching the video, Lee is doing a very good impersonation of the Zemo dance. And that basically was actually about 30 seconds long in the end. They cut it down to like 10 for the show because it really didn't add
It was
much.
like 3 seconds. Yeah, it was like
If that, yeah. So
they picked the right 3 seconds. Let's be honest about it.
for sure. But it was obviously a hit on the internet. So they showed now they've now not only released the full like 25, 30 seconds, but they've looped it. Marvel in response to the high demands for the quote unquote Zemo cut. They released a full hour of the dance on loop. Last I saw, it was like over 2 million views. That was a couple days ago. But yeah, good on Marvel for obviously continuing to have their finger on the pulse of their community and on their fans.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
And DC's like, we did that too. We made a 4-hour movie. Yes, this was just a dance clip. That's how much farther ahead they are than you. Yeah, look, good for them for releasing it. I did think it was a little funny that people are like, I watched the whole thing and there was no Easter eggs. Like, that's what scrubbing is for. And I don't know why you thought there'd be an Easter egg in that. Relax.
It was a joke.
It was a joke. And they did listen to their
These
fans.
are the same people who think John Walker is real and are sending Wyatt Russell hate mail.
He's not real?
Yeah.
Wyatt Russell, the great goaltender.
Was he a goalie?
Oh, yeah. So for those of you who don't know,
I didn't realize he was a goalie. I knew he was a hockey player. I didn't know he was a goalie.
Wyatt Russell was a very good hockey player. He played semi-pro at one point. And it's funny because he's been in movies his whole life, too.
Because obviously his dad is Kurt Russell, his mom's
Well, I mean, what has Kurt Russell really been in?
How much time do we have?
I joked last night. He's escaped from Los Angeles. He's escaped from New York.
He's been everything from Snake to Santa Claus.
He's been a god.
Yeah,
Snake Plissken. Which
exactly.
By the way, if you want a horribly aged movie that you'll love, I Escape from New York or L.A. You win either way.
Yeah.
Right now, he's also been the head coach of the 1980 Olympic team.
Yeah, he's been Herb Brooks. Yeah,
his son Wyatt was in Goon 2. He was actually the bad guy in Goon 2.
Yeah.
He was actually. I actually remember hearing about him when I was playing because he was coming up. He was actually coming up the ranks.
Wow.
I wonder how many players out there right now who never made it, myself included, played against Wyatt Russell. Like, he might be Captain America, but I score on his ass. He didn't have a shield that day.
Yeah. Shield would have helped you out in net, buddy.
So, Ray, I don't know if you know this, but that's one of the reasons why Kurt Russell took the role of Herb Brooks, because his son was so into hockey. That's what led him to that role. It's pretty cool to know that a hockey player was given the shield and obviously miraculously ruined it. Go figure.
Well, I mean, hockey is a Canadian sport. So.
Well, I'm just trying to think. Like if it's ESPN reporting this, it's Captain America murders innocent flag smasher. But if it's like NHL Tonight, it's like, what do you think about Sam's new wings? Oh, and Captain America loses. Close
His
game.
Mind.
Close game.
Those goalies, man, they're all head cases.
They're crazy. Did you see his face when he lifts the shield? Like that's the mouth. Just like for those who can't see, that was the only shot that I didn't really like. So they did this kind of low angle up shot of him with the shield above his head screaming, and there's just something about the way his mouth is shaped where he's like, I was like, it's not the most intimidating thing I've ever seen, but he's gonna kill the guy. Shot. Yeah, but it's they were trying to show that he's insane.
Right, that
he should have gritted his teeth. That would have been better. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not a director, but if I was, I would have been like, Wyatt, we're not making ghost films here. You know, that's who he looked like. He looked like well, this is great because this is going to transition to something later. He looked like the dude that was dying in Indiana Jones 1. It was like, oh, you know what I'm talking about? Right, so you know who I'm talking about now. All right, we'll have to get a shot of that. Caitlin, remind me, and we'll get a shot of that up in post-production. It's going to be right there. But yeah, that's what he looked like. And we'll listen, Ray, for the benefit of our audience, I'm going to put both Wyatt and that shot from Indiana Jones. You be the judge. Am I right? Did he... Ray's like, please get off this topic and move on.
Yeah, I'm done.
So yeah, Zemo was dancing.
Yeah, so the Zemo dances out there. It was a lot of fun.
I can't wait till we can go out to the club again. I'm just gonna.
So they will not be going forward on Disney Plus. That is a big.
What are you doing? I call it the limo.
Big deal. Yeah,
and it did a head tilt.
So
too.
that is a huge deal.
Here it comes, and then yes. Ray, move on whenever you're ready, Ray.
Yeah, moving on now to other big news. Obviously the Marvel Universe. Spider-Man is a big deal in the Marvel Universe, of course, but Sony, those of you, of course, who don't know, Sony co-produces those films because a long time ago, Marvel, trying to stay afloat, had financial troubles, sold a lot of their movie rights to Sony. Sony and Fox, obviously. Now they've reacquired Fox. Who originally
did a good job, to be super fair.
Right, yeah, no, to be fair. I mean, again, the Tobey Maguire first 2 Spider-Man movies were great, and same thing with the first two X-Men movies with Fox.
Yes,
but now, obviously, Marvel's trying to...
by Sony, though, ever.
Yeah, don't. They're trying to bring everything back under their umbrella, but they can't get the Spider-Man rights back from Sony. Sony continues to try and make Spider-Man films, and most of them suck, until Marvel stepped in, and now the two co-produce. But Sony still has the rights, and so Sony has the film rights, has announced that they've made a deal with Netflix to that the Spider-Man films going forward will be on Netflix and not on Disney Plus, which is a huge deal because that means that all of the MCU films will not be on Disney Plus now, that you'll at least have to get the Spider-Man films over at Netflix. This is a big, big deal. Netflix continuing to snatch up as much stuff as they can. We know that obviously announced last week, Knives Out 2 and 3 are going to go exclusively to Netflix. And again, the streaming wars just continue to up the ante, and this is the latest move in that. So this is obviously good for Sony because they need the money. Obviously good for Netflix because this helps them compete with Disney. And this is a huge deal if you want to see the Spider-Man films again, especially with the third one, No Way Home, coming out in December. So.
And Ray, correct me if I'm wrong, but when it comes to Marvel, this is what people have to remember with this because there are repercussions to this bigger than people probably think. So from a Disney Plus side, it's like, all the Marvel films won't be here. It's easy to forget that when it comes to Marvel, there are 3 really universes, right? There is the Marvel universe, which is the Avengers, basically. There's the X-Men universe, and then there's the Spider-Man universe. Spider-Man is probably one of the only characters that can stand on his own in terms of the Marvel. All right, I think people forget just how big Spider-Man is at times because he could handle everything on his own. He doesn't really need the Avengers to survive. It's great that he's involved with the MCU now, but that's how big the Spider-Man world is. In fact, I think in the next Spider-Man film, Spider-Man 3, Far From Home, right?
No Way Home is Spider-Man.
That's what I said. No Way Home.
Far From Home was 2.
That's what I said too. The second film, Far From Home, is leading to the third film, No Way Home. But I think that film's going to establish the larger Spider-Man multiverse, right? I think we kind of know that.
Yeah.
And they kind of show that Spider-Man's got its own universe, right? Even though it exists within the MCU as well.
Well, I mean, and I think part of that is also from Into the Spider-Verse, right? I think at this point they've kind of established that Into the Spider-Verse kind of is also loosely tied to all this. It's just very much in its own universe right now.
Well,
and
they've also
tie into the next one
this week, and I wish they would stop doing this, but they've also said this week that the animated Spider-Man from the 90s is going to be in No Way Home. Which, again, I wish they would stop telling us these things because, again, if we have to learn from WandaVision, just stop. Right?
Well, I mean, and credit to John Semper Jr., who, of course, wrote that all the way back in the 90s. That's really that was really the big moment when the idea of a Spider-Man multiverse really kind of was established in the mainstream.
Especially the last episode.
Right, the last series where they're looking,
Right.
yeah, exactly, where it's armored Spider-Man and Man Spider and trying to fight Spider Carnage, and again, and it just, yeah, it's that there's a Spider-Man where Uncle Ben doesn't die, and like, yeah, there's a whole bunch of them.
They
Yeah,
didn't jump into Spiders, man, but that's okay. I'm glad they did. But the thing is that it's huge for Sony because, and it's huge for Netflix too, right? Netflix desperately needed something. I mean, they're doing well, but they needed something to compete with this. HBO got DC. Disney's got that. Well, they go. We have Spider-Man now. All right.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I think the consumer wins here because most people I know have Netflix and Disney Plus. I don't know many people who have one or the other. So it's a quick app change to see the film now. But I think this is cool because I think what that means, Ray, is that we're going to get all the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. We're going to get all the Garfield Spider-Man. We're going to get probably the 90s cartoon Spider-Man. We're going to get the new Spider-Man. All right, so, and here's the thing. If Spider-Man No Way Home, the third movie in the series, not Far From Home, the second movie, or Homecoming, the first movie, but if the third movie ties all these things together, what a great gift for Netflix. You can watch all of them now on Netflix. And, suddenly you go from 3 films to 9 very quickly in terms of all of them together. So it's interesting. What I'm interested in knowing, Ray, is that they have to move forward with the Sinister Six at some point if they really want to do this right. Andrew Garfield Spider-Man was alluding to that before it was canceled, basically. If they really want to take Spider-Man to the next level, they have to start introducing the Sinister Six, right?
Yes.
Now, here's another question for you. Who do you think ties in more with the X-Men, Spider-Man or the Avengers?
Spider-Man.
I do too. So that's another interesting thing that they could use to vault that because, again, I don't know how they're going to do the mutant versus superhero thing yet. That's always been a weird, conversation point of why do you hate mutants but you don't hate superheroes?
There's gonna be an event. There's gonna be something that happens that obviously turns people against them.
They're already doing it. They're already kind of doing it in Captain Falcon. No. Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Now you sound like me. That's what I say, Captain.
I know. Falcon punch.
Yes, yeah. So, but yeah, no. There's going to be something that happens, and there's obviously they're sowing the seeds of distrust and hate with all the displaced people and everything. And again, Sam. Again, going back to one other thing that Sam brought up in that episode, which was great, was how much better a place the world was with half the population gone. Like they admit that, like they say it, like everybody in a weird way. And actually, in a way, DC way, because Watchmen did it the first time, like years ago, was that when a big enough tragedy happens, it actually brings humanity together, and humanity kind of rises up from that. It's kind of a common theme across comics and media for a long time, and they really, for the first time, really kind of blatantly mentioned that in this episode.
Ray, just tapping on that real quick. It's I just want to applaud the writers in Marvel for not just glossing over it. Like somebody said, like, look, the snap and the blip are not just everything's fine. You know what I mean? And again, they alluded to this a little bit in WandaVision when you saw Westview. It wasn't good when she got there. It was a town in distress, and like most places. And like I just give them a lot of credit for not glossing over that. And they're diving into some really serious issues that they didn't dive into for the first 20 films. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think it's just really good to see where they're going, and to have like a social commentary. It's pretty cool, and I hope they stay responsible with it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think they'll keep walking this straight and narrow for sure. But yeah, no, I mean, so that's a big deal. Obviously, I don't know if the cartoon will go to Netflix. I think Marvel might still have the rights to the '90s cartoon.
Man, I don't care where it goes as long as it's up. I love that cartoon.
Yeah, it's a great cartoon. Some would argue it's the best of the '90s. I still think I think it's still Batman, but like that Batman, X-Men, and Spider-Man, those 3 cartoons in the early to mid '90s redefined animation for a generation.
Superman or Justice League or Superman and Batman was really good too. I mean, it's the same lineage though.
You don't have that without the Batman.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Batman
I totally agree with that.
Like,
yeah.
I think Superman was great. Superman the animated series was great and still one of the best takes on Superman in my opinion. Yeah. But I don't think you have that. I mean, again, it's though Spider-Man was on its own thing, X-Men was its own thing, Batman was its own thing. Totally. And Batman is what launched that animated universe.
It can be easy to forget that, totally in agreement with what you said, that when they made Batman the animated series and then Superman the animated series, and then they announced that there's going to be Batman and Superman show. That was in our lives, right? That was the first time anything like that ever happened. And then that led to Justice League. And then it got
that's
way
really
too bloated.
the first universe.
Right.
Really.
That was amazing when that happened. And what was that show called? Just The Adventures of Batman and Superman or something like that? Or
Well, I mean, you had the Batman Superman hour, and you had the
Right.
Batman Adventures of Batman. Yeah, you mixed
right.
it
Then
up.
it
and
went
bit
into
of stuff
Justice
and-
League, and like I said, then that got
Yeah.
it got pretty bloated after that. But like,
Well, because the Justice League was great, and then they did Justice League Unlimited, and that's when it's like, here's Supergirl and Green Arrow and like all these other and Zatanna, and I'm like, there's too many people.
then they did Teen Titans at one point, and just it got
Teen
too much.
Titans, and then Young Justice, and then and then it's like,
Yeah.
Get
Just
rid
go
of them
back to
all.
the original. Yeah.
yes, like keep it
Keep
simple,
in mind
stupid.
too that Mask of the Phantasm, I think that to my knowledge is the only movie made from one of those cartoons of that time, right? You know, I don't remember.
I mean, well,
another
Batman had its own. Batman had several movies, right? There was Mask of the
Right.
Phantasm, then there was Sub-Zero,
Right.
then they did Mystery of the Batwomen, which was terrible.
No, I'm just saying,
then
Mask
they
of
did,
the Phantasm was in theaters, and like I remember going to see that. It was a big
Yes,
deal.
the only other one of those that did that was Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker.
Which was maybe the best animated film I've ever seen.
Yes,
that was
I mean, you want to talk about
unbelievable.
dark? You want to talk
That
about
was
dark?
in the best possible way. By the way, that's a 10 out of 10 recommendation from Ray and I. Go see Batman Beyond.
Yes.
Return of the Joker. You don't need to know anything about any of the characters to see it.
Yeah,
I mean, you gotta just know who Batman is and the Joker. That's about it.
right. Know who Batman and the Joker is, and know that Batman Beyond is the Terry McGinnis who takes on like he's
Right.
Batman of the future. That's
Right.
really it.
It's and like I said, you could barely know that and get by with that movie. One of the best endings I've ever seen. I will not spoil that for you. We'll spoil Captain and the Winter Soldier or Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We won't spoil that.
Yeah. So yeah, no, that is a great one. So you know who's not great though? You know, Sony made this great deal with Netflix, but Sony's not great overall.
No, Sony's got problems.
This was a big deal that they announced a couple days ago. There is it's a long story, but basically some of Sony's smaller studios wanted to try to start to branch out, do other work, kind of try to grow. You know, and Microsoft, again, has been great at this, supporting their indies, supporting their internal studios as much as possible.
Yes,
and it's why Microsoft has repositioned themselves
It's a true
going forward.
gaming community.
Yeah, exactly. And so what Sony has done instead is that it seems that they are constantly undermining a lot of their internal studios and have decided to for the third gen so it came The Last of Us came out in PS3, they remastered it for PS4, then obviously the sequel came out, and now it sounds like they're remastering it again for PS5, and people are just wondering why. Yeah. And so are a lot of devs internally at Sony, as people now are starting to leave in droves because of mistreatment and because of the mismanagement there at Sony, and this is a big deal.
Writing's on the wall, man.
Rockstar's doing with GTA 5, but at least GTA 5 has an ever-changing multiplayer. The fact that Sony is trying to do this and really trying to get blood from the stone that is The Last of Us, it's a bad sign, honestly. Like, I mean, look, remakes happen, remasters happen. I'm not saying they shouldn't, but like, Microsoft remastered Halo like at the 15-year anniversary. Right? Like, that's a different story when you go from the Xbox to the Xbox One. You know what I mean? This is PS3 to PS4 to PS5. It's not as much of a jump. It's not the same thing. Remastering the same game every few years. And again, even in Rockstar, again, same thing with GTA 5. It doesn't make total sense to me. It really feels like a move of desperation. And again, in the fact that there was this much internal strife that it came out where their smaller studios were mad when they prompted this and then had it taken away from them and brought to Naughty Dog and all this other stuff. And now Naughty Dog has an extra project on their plate that they didn't want to begin with. It just seems to come like a total crap show.
Well, let's look at it from a business point of view, because that's typically what gives you the answer. So, Ray, I'll walk you through it, right? What is the driving factor for making any of these decisions?
Money.
So their data must show that these remakes bring in guaranteed a certain amount of money, correct?
Right.
So this is what I know in business, is that when you start chasing money, not making money, that is usually the beginning of the end. It is a big tell of a larger problem, which is you are desperate and you think the bottom line is the only thing that matters. And don't get me wrong, the bottom line is extremely important, okay? But as you said at the start of this, innovation, chasing new things, trying new things. If you do not innovate as a company, you will die. It is. It doesn't matter what company you are. There was a company called Standard Oil that provided the kerosene for every lit lamp around the world, around the country, the United States, kerosene. Then Edison and Tesla made the light bulb.
Yep.
Kerosene, the largest industry in America, pretty much gone within a few years.
Yep.
They would resurge later with gasoline, but that's another story. Okay?
Right.
It doesn't matter. The Yellow Pages. 100 years the Yellow Pages have been around. When's the last time you opened up a Yellow Pages, Ray? Google
Most people
came.
listening to this probably don't even know what a Yellow Page is.
It's fair. All right? Google came along. Right? One day, Facebook, Google, all these companies, they will get toppled too. Amazon, the most powerful thing on the planet. One day that will go under as well. All right?
Yeah.
Unless they innovate and change. Right?
Right.
So Sony is starting to show me the signs of cash grab, cash grab, cash grab. If they're not willing to change, they are going to go under. The movie industry is also guilty of this. We talk about this in several shows. The theater industry, you must adapt, right? Yeah. So when I see Sony going after their big titles over and over and over again, you're just telling me you're not trying to change, all right? Yeah. You're trying to make as much money as you can because you know what's coming. That is poor leadership. I don't want to say poor decision-making because it's based on money. It's poor leadership because they're not taking us anywhere, right? Yeah. Innovate. Microsoft is doing it. But this just, I'm going to say it again, this just confirms what I've been alluding to, that there is not going to be another PlayStation, that Sony is on its way out. They're going to be just a developer in the future, and that Microsoft and Nintendo will reign supreme in the gaming industry after this generation.
Well, I mean, and the thing is that also the worst thing is that a lot of times these big corporations forget is that sometimes your best asset is the people who work for you, and the fact that these decisions are causing people to be like, I don't want to work for you anymore.
Everything you need to know. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, you know, Ray, it's like I said, if anyone's working for someone out there that you're okay quitting, or you're okay running, like that should tell you something. You know what I mean? Yeah. And especially in the gaming industry, when it comes to something as large as Sony, wanting to leave Sony. Like I remember working at the NHL, and again, I really did enjoy the work I was doing, but I was miserable. I was miserable there all the time. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's not what you do, it's who you do it with. And if you have poor leadership, it will ruin it for you. It doesn't matter what you're doing. I don't care. You could work in a candy shop with a body that doesn't respond to candy. If you hate the people around, you're not going to want to work there for long. Well, that would be a pretty cool job now I'm thinking about it. We got to get to work on that.
Oh, goodness. Yeah. No, innovation is king, and a lot of these industries aren't innovating. And you mentioned the movie industry. And that brings us into more back to movies. Right. Speaking of not innovating, Indiana Jones 5.
You mean
How about
apology, that? The apology film for Indiana Jones 4? Is that what you're talking?
Yes, that's yeah. There's some news from that. John Williams is again, of course, composing the score. Some new actresses were added to the film this week. I haven't really heard much else about it, but it's coming next year, 2022.
Yeah, look, this is all I hope. Don't kill Indy. Please don't kill Indiana Jones at the end of this thing. Just give us a goodbye that we want or need, or at least pass the hat on. Pass on the fedora.
Kylo Ren will appear and stab him in the gut.
Dad, I know. Wrong film. Yeah, that'd be funny. I know what I have to do, but I don't know how I have that power to do it.
If Adam Driver gets cast in Indiana Jones 5, I don't think you're good. I think we should all worry. Yeah. Oh, goodness. But yeah,
Henry
so there's
Jones
that.
Jr. No, I'm looking forward to Indy 5, to be honest with you. Like I said, Indy 4 I didn't understand. And I didn't know what to do, but, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. No, it was a movie. Yeah, Indiana Jones 4. But speaking of movies, also other things announced. They're sure ahead of themselves. We don't have a synopsis. We don't have a plot. We don't have any idea what's happening with it. But we know a Star Trek movie is now coming June 9th, 2023. That was announced today. Again, there's really not more. The fact that they give us a release date and no other information is actually, to me, pretty worrying.
It is a little weird, right?
It is very weird. But that was done today. And it was also announced that Black Adam over at HBO and Warner Brothers Warner Brothers that has started filming this week as well. So some more interesting movie headlines there. Lee, your thoughts on Star Trek and or Black Adam?
Yeah, so Star Trek's an interesting one because there's a lot of questions of when, where, why, what universe is this going to take place in, and I'll tell you why that's an interesting question. Is because, when we last off in the Kelvin universe, which is the Pine Star Trek, the more recent ones with J.J. Abrams, we were just kind of left. And there was a lot of talk, actually, about Chris Hemsworth coming back to revive his role as James Kirk's father, right? Because if you remember, he dies in the very first movie in 2009 with Chris Pine when he was a bigger actor. Now Chris Hemsworth's kind of the bigger actor. So they want to do some sort of alternate reality thing, but I don't think it's going to happen. You got to remember too that Picard is a very popular show. They have not made a movie that's taken place past Deep Space Nine, which was that's the farthest we've ever gone in the future with the TV shows until Picard came out. Will this continue that timeline? Are they going to go into the future where we left off? And you got to keep in mind, outside Picard, 20 years have passed without anything moving forward from the Next Generation timeline. Right. So Picard kind of opens the door up for them to, if they wanted to go back to the future, they could do that. But I don't need a reboot for Kirk. I don't want a reboot of Next Generation. Just give us something that's a good story, as always. I don't think it's going to be the Chris Pine one. There's also the Tarantino wanted to direct one. I don't think that's going to happen either. So Paramount. Or by the way, they could do something with Discovery too, which is also a big show on television. But yeah, they announced it kind of oddly, as you said, Ray, just kind of out of nowhere. But yeah, new Star Trek movie coming one day.
Yeah. Yep. And then Black Adam has begun filming now with Warner Brothers.
It's huge.
That's inevitable.
I am inevitable. No, look, the Black Adam filming. We wanted to bring that up because they did start filming last week. The Rock has been training insanely for this. He's been very vocal about it, that he's going to be doing this. They're going to change everything. They got some really good names in that, as we've said in several shows. They're trying to change the whole hierarchy of the DCU. And I'm interested to see if they succeed.
Yeah, no, for sure. And again, I think a lot of that's going to also hinge on Flashpoint, kind of hitting the reset button.
Totally.
Can't wait for that. Something else that's coming out from Warner Brothers in the next couple of weeks. The new Mortal Kombat movie coming to HBO Max, which I am not optimistic for. They released a remix, a dubstep remix of the classic theme song from the 90s movie to go along with this. And, well, if I was worried before, folks, this has done nothing to help me feel better.
Ray is very upset. Ray is very upset about this.
Sounds terrible. This is a terrible song. There was nothing wrong with the song from the 90s. I don't agree
with you at all on this, man. I don't agree with you at all on this.
Terrible.
So Ray doesn't like it. So basically what they've done is they've taken the original song, the Mortal Kombat. That's a different song. But anyway, they took that song and they did a dubstep remix. Now, I like dubstep more than Ray. Ray hates dubstep, which is what it is. What's going to be interesting, Ray, is what does this say about the movie? Is this somehow a continuation of the movie? Are they just trying to grab any properties that make people feel good about the movie? I don't know where this is going to go, and I think that's one of the things that's bothering everybody. Is that guys, what did you make here? Now my gut is telling me this is going to be horrible.
Yes,
my gut's telling me that I'm going to watch this and be like, okay, all right, but there is a small glimmer of hope, Ray, that maybe they do this and it's like, that wasn't that bad. But it's going to come out. Thank goodness it comes out on HBO Max. We don't have to pay anything other than what we're paying for our subscription.
Right.
I will check it out. But this is where I'm at. And this is sad. I'm like, will I be able to get through it? That's what I
Yeah. I mean, thankfully, the one thing they did also announce is that it's only an hour and 50-minute runtime, which I think is good. I think that's part of the thing that helped Kong versus Godzilla.
Pure action, yeah.
Is just people are like, how can you do Mortal Kombat in less than 2 hours? It's like, well, the original film was an hour 45. It's like if you stick to that main story of the first tournament,
right?
Yeah, you can do it in under 2 hours. In fact, more movies should probably be between an hour and a half and 2 hours.
It's been done before.
Yeah.
I think we're forgetting that, and it was
I
great.
I think people are so used to these bloated monstrosities that films have become, especially action films, that like they don't understand that you can tell a concise story in an hour. In fact, actually, the fact that it's less than 2 hours makes me feel better. The song makes me feel worse, but the runtime makes me feel better.
You know what's going to be interesting, Ray, as we kind of full on shift from cinema to streaming, is that if you want to make a bloated film, just make it a series, right? Yeah. I shouldn't say bloated. I mean, if you want to tell more of a story, get deeper in, now you can do that through
do a 6-episode miniseries.
So it makes you wonder if, like, are the 2-hour movies going to become the side thing that you do? Like, you know, is there going to be a shift from TV to film? No, but I think that this confirms kind of what you and I say, is that a film is an event. You know, it's an event. You know, and a series is something else. You know, traditionally films get more money put into them, but they're putting just as much money into the TV shows. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of where this goes. Now, with that said, Ray, I do agree with you. More films need to be under 2 hours, but I also understand when Endgame is 3 hours. Like, I understand certain films being extra
for sure.
long,
like, yeah,
right? But I agree with you. Like, just if you can't tell a story in 2 hours, what are we doing here, right? And sometimes these are bloated. Like, look, let's be perfectly honest. There's no way I would have made it through that Snyder's Justice League in the theater. Now, they knew that. They knew it wasn't going to be in the theater, to be fair to them. But, like, that was bloated. I didn't need all of that, all right? Yeah. So that's just kind of proof that you can do it. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it, okay? I'm just saying that, like, I didn't need all of it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, me too. I watched it over four days, right? I watched an hour a day for 4 days in a row, and it was fine. But, like, I think that's the thing is too. And I think also, again, I'm worried about this because there is so much history to Mortal Kombat at this point that I don't know if we need a film for Mortal Kombat.
11 games. I mean, actually, it's more than 11. So
11 in the main continuity, but like
I mean, look, here's the deal: is I'll pose this as a question, right? When you have something that has canon this deep, can you get by making a just 2-hour fun action film? All right. You know, people say, oh, they did that with Godzilla and Kong. Well, they can't talk.
Yeah.
Okay. There's only really one thing they can do, and they do it really well. In fact, there's been funny calls for a cut of, like, just don't put any human beings in the next Kong versus Godzilla movie. Fight. And, like, that's why I liked in Kong versus Godzilla, or Godzilla versus
the
Kong.
humans were the worst part.
They made it a ride. That's why I said I kind of appreciated that. But yeah, no, like I said, that's the question: is would you be comfortable with just a fun action film that's mindless, or do you think Mortal Kombat deserves much more in-depth canon appreciation?
Here's the thing, right? I'm already worried about this film because I don't think they're appreciating the canon right from the get-go. Right, you have this loser, Cole Young, or whatever it is, who's clearly just the audience, like, this is the person we're going to explain everything to because we don't know how else to do this otherwise. Like,
and that kills me. They should assume people know.
Even because, there's 80 characters that you could have put in that role. There's so many characters in Mortal Kombat. You had to make a new one?
Here's the thing. This is the thing, is that, you know, who's making this movie, right? What company makes this movie?
Warner Brothers. I don't know.
Is it Warner Brothers? Because that would make a lot of sense.
Well, I mean, it's HBO Max, yeah. So I mean, it's Warner. It's Warner Brothers.
Here's the deal. This is typical. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot there. It's typical Warner Brothers. Like, you don't need new fans. You have Mortal Kombat fans. It is the biggest fighting game in history, trailed very shortly by Street Fighter. Right? So you don't need to create a new character. I mean, we'll give full judgment after it comes out. All right, but it's like, you know, you didn't need to find a new audience for this. You have the audience. I'm sure the audience would have just rather experienced a really good movie based on the canon. Yeah. Keeping in mind, Mortal Kombat canon goes all over the place, but just pick a story.
Right. Figure it out. Like, it just feels like people who aren't passionate about the project were put in charge of the project. Like, it just that's what it feels like.
That's probably what happened, right? To be honest with you. Yeah. It should have been us.
Yeah.
Well,
anyway.
Don't get that upset over it, man. 2 years. Geeks like sports. What took you down? Ray was really distraught over the Mortal Kombat soundtrack.
Yeah. Speaking of things that organizations that don't know what they're doing, Major League Baseball. Baseball continues
again,
the season.
The season coming through in a clutch. Baseball screwing up again.
Oh yeah. So we're about a week in. Yankees were getting their butts kicked last I saw it today. The big thing, two big things. We had a good story and a bad story with baseball. Also, we did talk about Colorado now officially the home for the new All-Star game. That was announced earlier in the week. Check out episode 103.5. We sound like a radio station. 103.5 FM. Geeks who like sports.
WRAYLEE. All geeks all the time.
WGWLS. So, we talked about that in that last episode specifically. So we're just going to talk about the baseball stories themselves. The Mets had a weird walk-off win against the Marlins.
To be fair, we can't really blame the Mets on this.
Right.
Okay, because I can't blame the Mets for finding a way to win.
Yeah.
So go ahead and describe it, but I want to preface that.
It's not
I don't like
technically cheating. It just seems unsportsmanlike. Bases were loaded, 2 outs. I think it was bottom 9. And Michael Conforto, the right fielder, was up, and he kind of leaned out over the
winning
plate.
Run on third. We got to say that. Winning run.
Yeah, the bases were loaded. 2 outs, bottom of the 9th. The game was tied at 2, and Michael Conforto leaned out with his elbow. And look, we've seen this before. Ricky Henderson used to do it. Like this is a long-standing thing. A lot of guys over baseball history will do this on occasion. They'll lean out, and he got just scratched on the elbow by the fastball. And the ump said it. All right, take your base. Game-winning run comes in. That's it. It's a bases win. It's a game-winning.
You would have thought they won the World Series.
Yeah, I mean, the Mets obviously blew it out of proportion. The Marlins, very frustrated. Don Mattingly immediately challenged, came out, arguing with the umpire, and understandably so. It really does look like you're not supposed to lean into a pitch.
Sorry, the one thing we left out here is that this was clearly going to be a strike. That's the other part of it.
Yes.
Right, so it wasn't like it was wide or it could have hit him. This was a strike the guy
This
threw.
was an inside corner strike, it looked like, and he leaned into it. And again, this has happened in baseball history before, and the umps looked at it again. They looked at the replay, and they said, nope, hit by pitch, game over. We want to go home. There's nothing they can do about it. Yeah, so, and that was it. And it just was it was just an ugly way to win. I mean, I get it. The Mets, disgusting franchise, disgusting players. Mets fans in general are disgusting.
Wow, he's going.
So I hate the Mets. I hate them.
Going all out today.
Yeah, sorry.
We do have Mets. We do have Mets fans that listen to this. That's a nice shirt, Ray. The Mr. October shirt.
Yes, that's from you. Thank you.
No.
What
am I wearing?
I rag on the Mets.
It's just a hockey shirt. All right.
The hockey shirt. I rag on the Mets because I hate the Mets because I'm a Yankee fan. It was just a very unsportsmanlike way to win.
This is what I'll say about that play. One of the announcers
said, if you're not
cheating,
you're not trying, right?
Well, I'm not a fan of that. But anyway, one of the things the announcer said, they said, what's the point of all these rules and all this replay if you can't make the right call? And the thing is that, look, there should be a rule about you can't lean into a strike.
There is, but it's left to the umpire's discretion is the problem.
Right. And that is a problem. And what's the point of having replay if they couldn't overturn that? Because here's the thing. This is why I said the Mets didn't do anything wrong per se. They did what they had to do to win, but it's
the umpire did something wrong.
Look, when I play pool and somebody else hits the 8-ball in, again, look, different people react differently. Some people are fine with that. I hate winning that way. I hate it. All right, I want to win because I beat you, not because a technicality. Yeah. And I just think that this is. Again, if it was outside a little bit, I would be like, all right, it was outside the strike, so it was a strike. There's a difference between the out and the game. I don't know.
Yeah.
Mets fans will say he did what he had to do. That's why I kind of preface this, and I'm not saying like any other team. That should not happen in 2021 baseball. It just shouldn't happen. It's not right, and the MLB should seriously can look at that, and figure it out. Because I think one of the things I said is that they couldn't overturn it because he had already made the call.
Right, because the replay rule is that I think even the umpire, I think the umpire upon second look did want to overturn it.
Yeah, but he couldn't.
But I don't think he could because of the replay rule.
And that's what they need to change. That's what
is ridiculous. And again, and that's the thing though. But there is a rule where if you lean out over the plate and you're hit by a pitch, the umpire doesn't have to award you first base. Right. He doesn't have to.
To be fair, but I don't know, man. It's just again, traditionalists will say it's part of the game.
I can't wait till the umpires are removed from the game.
Yeah, I am just not a fan of leaving aspects of the game up to human error. I never understood that.
Yep.
Today, I understood that when it was 1912. All right,
Yeah.
and like back, or even 1950. I mean, I understood it back then because we didn't have technology back then like this.
Right, and mistakes happen.
And the athletes weren't anywhere close to the athletes of today. The precision today is totally different.
Yeah.
So anyway, look, I'll also say this. I've said this before. The Mets didn't technically win on that play. They won because they got 2 runs throughout the game, and that was the 3rd run that came in.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is they were coming back anyway. It was 2-0. Right. They had tied it up in that inning. Loaded. They had loaded the bases.
Yeah, I don't want to put it out of proportion. I'm just saying though, it's a crappy way.
It's an ugly way. It's an ugly.
And the way they celebrated was just like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, you won. Like, there's nothing wrong with that, but just. Yeah. Like, you would have thought they won the World Series.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. The Mets celebrate because they're not used to winning. They're just not used to winning, right? Man.
Especially with that money in that team. You know who's used to winning? The Phillies, which is weird.
You guys got off to a super hot start. Yankees are falling apart, but you guys are definitely looking really, really good.
Well, we've talked about it before with the Phillies, Ray, and I think we talked about this again. Like I'm not watching as much as I want to because of my feelings on baseball right now. But I've said this before. On paper, Phillies have a very strong team. They just needed consistent pitching, which they've been getting. They need the right manager, which they have, and they needed guys like Harper and
wake up.
Other guys to do well, right? And they're doing it. So, it's a long season. I'll be the first to admit that. But if they're firing on all barrels, the Phillies are absolutely a threat to win the NL East. It also depends on the performance of the Braves, right? And the Money Mets.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is speaking the Yankees, Yankees are losing 4-0. They're about to lose this one in the 9th. The Yankees are looking terrible early in the year. I really hope Cashman and Boone get fired after this year. I can't stand them. I can't. I just can't. I hate them so much.
Right. My eyes are up here.
I know. I'm sorry. Domingo Germán doing terribly, and then
why would you do this to yourself?
But there is a good baseball story.
Just so you know,
there is a good baseball story that came out this week as well. Joe Musgrove, native of San Diego, grew up in the San Diego suburbs, was traded there from the Pirates in the, if I remember correctly, in the offseason. And Joe Musgrove now we should say this. Funny enough, he had a perfect game going until he hit a guy by a pitch. That was the only base runner the entire game. Is he hit Joey Gallo? Joey Gallo didn't lean into it. Joe Musgrove threw the first no-hitter in Padres history, which is saying something because the Padres have been around for a long time. But first time that they've thrown a no-no, Joe Musgrove, San Diego native, and the Padres, even without Fernando Tatis, finding ways to win because he's going to miss a month or 2 with a separated shoulder. Good for them. This is like I said this in the beginning of the year. I said the Padres are a team to be worried about. They made the smart moves because that's what good franchises do is they go and get pitching. Brian Cashman should look what San Diego did. Excuse me. They got Blake Snell. They got Yu Darvish. They got Joe Musgrove. They already had the Met. I can't say his name. But they have a stacked rotation, and this is proof of it. So good on the Padres, and that's a good thing to finally see something that we had never seen before in baseball. A Padre throw a no-no.
Ray, I am gonna do something that our audience loves, but you don't. But you always come through. Okay. For those of you listening, Ray just closed his eyes and he literally said, "God damn it, Lee," in his mind. That's how well I know him. But you actually won't hate this, okay? We're gonna give our audience a little treat here, Ray. We're gonna give them a Ray Carcillo call on the final pitch of Joe Musgrave's no-no. From your perspective. Doesn't matter who's at bat. I just want to hear Ray Carcillo's call. 15 seconds. Joe Musgrove's no-no.
All right, I think it was. I want to say it was a ground ball to short. Was the last play?
Just say the last pitch. Just.
Swung on, hitting the ground towards short. Long throw the first in time, and there it is, Joe Musgrove, the first no-no in Padres history. The San Diego native has come through for his hometown franchise and has etched his name in the history books forever. Congratulations, Joe Musgrove. Padres win.
know how hard it is to do something that well on the whim, because I'm complimenting you. You are really good at that.
Oh, thanks, buddy. I don't know.
Yeah, listen, man. Listen, there's players in the playoffs that are clutch, hit home runs when they need to, score goals when they need to. But if anybody ever needs a call, you think I'm going to? Yeah. No, you have a real talent there, Ray. I like I said, although many of you follow Ray on Twitch already. If you don't, go check out Twitch Ray Carcillo, because your live calls are what make the game great. I mean, it is a real talent for you to do that. I can see that I'm visibly making you uncomfortable. I don't care. That's what big brothers do. All right, it's just really, really impressive. That's why I threw you under the spot. Now, Ray may throw me under the spot for some color commentary later. Fly ball. Caught. Greatest call in history. Thanks, Monty. No, Ray, that was great. Thank you. May I transition into the next segment?
Yeah, you can transition to the next subject, sure.
Hockey and basketball almost done.
Yes, the regular seasons for hockey and basketball.
Which one do you want to do first? Which one do you want to do first?
Let's do hockey because that's actually closer to being
There's
finished.
a lot of movement going on in the NHL today, much less recently.
Yeah, as we're recording this, we're about 36 hours away from the trade deadline. Actually, about there. So, of course, the big one, we talked about this briefly on our Twitch show, was obviously the Islanders made a trade with the Devils to get, Zajac and Palmieri.
Yeah, and Palmieri had to shave for the first time in his life. He had a huge beard because Lou Lamoriello doesn't like facial hair. Another big trades today. So that trade to me put the Islanders pretty close to the front of the pack to win the East. But another big trade today. They lost
to the Rangers last night.
Right. But they're just in playoff contention right now. Look, I've said this before. It doesn't matter if you come in 1 through 4 in your division as long as you make it, because the first round's going to be hell. So I really don't think that, again, a lot of Toronto fans we're running the league. I would not be overly confident. Toronto looks great, but I would not be overly confident right now. That's what you got to be smart. In other news, a big trade today that is kind of going under the radar. The Sharks have traded Devin Dubnyk to the Avalanche, the goaltender.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
And that's huge because the only thing that Colorado was missing was consistent goaltending. And when their goalies are healthy, they're unstoppable. But getting another goalie like Dubnyk is a big deal for the Colorado Avalanche. Dubnyk is a great
insurance policy. This guy is a clutch netminder. Obviously, San Jose going nowhere. This is a big deal for that. The Avalanche made a couple of moves.
Right, they're going for the cup. They're going for the cup. And just real quick before we get to the other moves, the Panthers picked up Montour from the Sabres. So the front runners in a lot of the divisions are really ensuring some stuff for themselves right now. This is, I hate to say this because I mean it's unlikely the Flyers are going to make the playoffs. Which, by the way, the Eastern Division is the toughest division by far. And we said this. That's the only division where 3 teams not making it really could have been a playoff team this year, including the Rangers. You know what I mean? Just not Buffalo, basically.
It's true.
All right,
it's true. Yeah, I mean the Avalanche. So the Avalanche traded a 4th-round pick to Detroit for Patrick Nemeth.
Right.
That move going through is actually what allowed them to make the Dubnyk trade because they sent Paterno, the defenseman Greg Paterno, back to San Jose along with a pick. So that obviously Nemeth is going to take over for Paterno, probably in his spot in the top 6 defenseman, and then obviously they also sent a 5th-round pick to San Jose. So getting rid of draft picks, sending them out, that is a huge deal. Avalanche, they smell it. They feel like they can make a run.
They look very dangerous now. All right. What's interesting here is that when you look at the West and the Central, which is basically the Western Conference this year, I think. I don't know how they're going to do that, but Colorado, extremely strong. Vegas looking really sharp, but not making any moves. And then when you look at the Central, Carolina leading the pack. In fact, I think up until today, leading the NHL in points. So Carolina very quietly one of the best teams in the league, just slightly ahead. I'm looking at this now, ahead of Tampa Bay. And Florida and Nashville have been really good too. And then when you look into the North, the Canadian division, again, really weird. So Vancouver, who's been horribly struck by COVID. I think 20 people in that organization have COVID. They're not playing at all right now. There's even questions of them finishing their season.
Yeah, they are adamant they will, but there is definitely some questions around there. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because they're currently in 5th with 37 games played, right? So but here's the thing: they have 35 points, and Montreal, who's in fourth, has 43 points. So they're not exactly out of it. But I could see the NHL saying, all right, you're not going to make the playoffs.
Or at least getting them to play as many games until they're mathematically eliminated.
And one of the things that I think they should have done, but this also shows you how tight COVID's been, is one of the things with COVID is like, look, if you guys get COVID, bring your AHL guys up and play, right?
Yep.
And like apparently it's so bad in Vancouver they can't even do that just in the building.
A massive outbreak there. Massive.
Right. And then, COVID's played a massive role this season in a lot of teams. I mean, you've seen teams like the Flyers completely collapse after having it. And you've seen teams like the Bruins have it and continue to move forward. But in the East Division right now, it is a tight race. 2 points separate first place from 3 teams. All teams have played. Washington, New York, Islanders, and Pittsburgh have all played 41 games, 56, 56, 54 points. And then Boston is right there with several games at hand with 48 points. So you could also make the argument that they're right there too. And then there's a drop off to the Rangers and the Flyers, who are still alive, but will need massive winning streaks to make it in.
I think both of them are 5 points back of Boston right now.
Right.
I said it a week ago on TikTok, so it's still there as proof. I said I think the Rangers are going to miss the playoffs by about 6 points. So they're right about there. Awesome. 16 games left for the Rangers. Big win last night against the Islanders. They won 4-1, but if Boston keeps winning, it's the top 4 teams might be getting closer and closer together, but there's still that gap between 4 and 5 that the Rangers just can't seem to overcome.
This is what I've said, Ray. There's Rangers have 16 games left, right?
Yes.
Okay. You are within that 10-point variance I talked about. So I'm going to say this again. So are the Flyers, okay?
Yeah.
Any team that has a 10-point deficit with about 15 games left can do it. But they have to win. They have to win moving forward. And I'm talking 5, 6, 7 game winning streaks, because the fact that every game is a 4-point swing is a big deal. For example, the Flyers were a point behind Boston and could have moved into fourth and lost both games, and it was devastating. Yeah. Right. So it's very interesting. Again, the Flyers playing Boston right now, and they're winning 3-2, which that's a huge win. If they win that game, it's a 4-point swing. So it's just going to be interesting.
It is going to be interesting. It's also going to be interesting because the Rangers in particular finished the season. The last 2 games of the season for the Rangers are against Boston. So who knows what'll happen if they're within striking distance. But they got to get there first. The Rangers play again against the Islanders tomorrow night. Again, we're recording this on Saturday the 10th. Yeah. So when this airs, that game will be done.
Now, Ray, I got one more thing for you. So some weird things this year could happen too. You could have a very weird Stanley Cup final this year. Okay, so in the West, technically this year, Carolina, Tampa Bay, Florida, Chicago, and Columbus, and Detroit, both those teams aren't going to make it, but Carolina, Tampa Bay, and Florida, 3 of the teams leading the Central, who are typically in the Eastern Conference, right, could play.
So is the bracket going to be the East winner versus Canada? Is that what's happening?
So to my understanding, the East and the North are one division, and the Central and the West are, one conference, and the Central and the West are another one. Now, keeping in mind too that the first 2 rounds of the playoffs are going to be interdivision. Okay,
right. So it's only the final. You basically, that's why I say it's kind of like your division winner. Your final 4 will be the 4 division winners, final. And then you.
Now,
the conference final.
I don't know if they're going to do that based on 1 through 4 rankings at that point. My gut tells me no, but they may. Right. Like they may. But again, keeping in mind because of the Canadian division, Winnipeg and Edmonton are in the top 4. So you could have a weird final where 2 potential East teams face off or 2 potential West teams face off.
Yeah,
but a final that's never happened.
Carolina versus the Islanders. What a Stanley Cup that would be.
Right. So it's going to be Long Island will. My point to you is that you, there's potential for a very weird final.
Yes,
not to mention too that the conference finals and the Stanley Cup final are going to be weird in general because there's going to be guaranteed teams that have not played each other this season. So that's why when I go back to Toronto, who are having a great season, I don't want to take anything away from Toronto's season. Yeah. But it's like, what happens when you face a team you haven't played yet? You might
Could
be
you
awesome.
imagine them versus Boston in the conference final that think they're going to not have to see Boston this whole year, and then suddenly they get there.
It's very possible. That would be very
Goodness.
possible too. But yeah, I mean, honestly, if you put a gun to my head, I'm picking Colorado out of the West to be in the final. And it's tough.
Colorado, and I would say Vegas too. Colorado or Vegas, whoever wins that series.
Oh yeah. I think I'm saying if I had to pick a Western final right now, it's Colorado. And then it's so hard in the Eastern Conference right now. Like as it is right now, Boston, Pittsburgh, Islanders, Washington, Montreal, Winnipeg, Edmonton, Toronto. Man, that's a tough one. And Washington's been leading the East for most of the season. So we'll see what happens.
Now them and the Islanders keep flip-flopping now.
Right.
No, it's going to be interesting to see. And speaking of the Leafs, by the way, also them too, they just acquired Riley Nash from the Blue Jackets for a 7th-round pick, which was interesting. You don't see usually injured guys traded. But they're hoping that Nash will be back for the playoffs, and that's basically what they're banking on because he's going to miss probably the rest of the regular season. So
it's funny because a lot of times this year, you're buyer or seller at the trade deadline, and I often think fans don't see the value on not doing anything. For example, the Flyers, right? Let's just say the Flyers win this game against Boston today. That puts us in a position we most likely don't make any moves, right? Because it's like you just let it ride at that point. And to see what happens. And sometimes that's the right move for GMs. Like a lot of fans they want this big splash every year. Sometimes the right move is not to do anything. Sometimes the right move is to save it for the draft. You know what I mean?
It's very
the Giants know that. But speaking of that, let's go to the NBA because I'm happy with the NBA right now because my Sixers are kicking butt.
Yeah, you're the 2 seed as the Nets have gone on a roll. The Knicks, unfortunately, lost a couple of heartbreakers.
They have a game.
Yes, they've played. They have. You do have a you. No, they're up by 1 game. You guys have played the same amount of games now, Brooklyn and Philly.
No. I'm sorry. You are correct, sir. I was looking at wins. But yes, the 76ers for most of the year leading the pack, and it's us in Brooklyn right now at the top.
Yeah, Knicks lost a couple of heartbreakers by 1 possession again. The Celtics and to the Nets. The Knicks, I've been saying this now. The Knicks have kind of formed an identity. Still the number 4 overall defense. The only teams better than the Knicks in defense are the 76ers, the Lakers, and the Jazz. That's saying something. Those are 3 powerhouse teams.
In New York. It's great to see the Knicks doing well.
I think the Knicks are they need one more legitimate scorer. Somebody to take the pressure off of Randall. Obviously, they're not going to probably get that this year, but it's very tight. From the 1 seed to the 8 seed, it's only a 10-game difference. Yeah. And, of course, the top 10 make it. You have that play-in round. Right now, the Knicks sit in the traditional 8 seed. They're 3 ahead of more importantly, they're 5.5 ahead of Toronto, who are in the 11 seed. And the Knicks came back with a massive overtime win against the Memphis Grizzlies last night. The Knicks were down huge at the half, and they came storming back. And to win that game in overtime shows, again, this is a Knicks team that has grit. This is a Knicks team that is willing to. It's not over till it's over. They don't always come back all the way. Again, those tough losses to Boston and Brooklyn, but. Yeah, I mean, they are a team to watch out for. I think the Knicks, at least going forward the next couple of years, we have a really good young core.
What I was going to say to you, Ray, about the Knicks is that it is so important that, A, they make the playoffs, number 1, even if it's the play-in round. 2 is get that experience of being in the playoffs again, okay? Yep. And then bring in the extra pieces you need. Right? Yep. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you can get something now, get it. But basketball has shown that's almost impossible this time of the year. Right? Yeah. Just get the playoff experience, get the feeling of playoff basketball back in New York and Madison Square Garden, then start building from there. Don't make the same mistakes you've made the last 20 years. Right? Yeah. You actually got something here. And we talked about this before the NBA season about the Knicks needing to find an identity. Well, they have. They totally have.
Yeah. Thibodeau has really learned.
They promised they would too.
Yeah. No, Tom Thibodeau is showing how good a coach he is, and he's learned from his mistakes from previous stops, and that's a big deal. He's grown as a coach. But yeah, big deal between the 4 and 9 seeds in the East. Only close. 3 games separate them. Knicks are only 2 games out of 4th with 19 left to play. So that's super. I mean, obviously, if the Knicks could get all the way back up to 4th, they were there briefly. That'd be a huge deal because obviously then you're hosting the first round of the playoffs. You don't even have to worry about a play-in series. And again, your 76ers are also playing like they are absolutely dominating, especially in the conference.
Yeah.
They actually have a better conference record than Brooklyn. It's been playing the West that they've had trouble with. They don't travel as well. I actually still think Philadelphia is a better team than Brooklyn. I know Durant's back and all this other stuff, but like I think that I don't know. To me, there's a bunch of head cases over in Brooklyn, and they're one injury away from everything falling apart.
Here's the deal, is that Doc Rivers has got the team where they finally needed to be. The Sixers have been ready to go deep in the playoffs for a while, all right?
Yeah.
And they have not, in my opinion, had the coaching to do it. And Doc Rivers was a godsend for this team. You can see Embiid is playing better than he's ever played. You can see this team is destined to do something. Now, that team, that doesn't mean they're going to win the NBA Finals. All right, it never means that, but they are a contention right now. All right, they are a team that can win the entire thing. Now, again, most likely whoever comes out of the East is probably gonna face off against LeBron, because like history shows that to be true, right?
Yeah.
There's people, well, Utah's leading. The Lakers are only fifth. I'm like, I don't care where they are. If LeBron's on the team, tell me.
Exactly. The Lakers, what they're doing is the Lakers have taken their foot off the gas to kind of conserve energy for the playoff run.
Right, and they're gonna make
them
it.
too. Yeah, them too. I mean, it's super tight. There's only between 5 and 1. There's a 7-game difference. I don't think the Lakers are going to overtake the Jazz with 19 games to go, or 20 in the case of the Lakers.
No, they're right there though.
But
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They'll probably. I mean, look, the West is still stacked. The Clippers are a good team. Denver is good still. Phoenix has finally put all the pieces together. They're the 2 seed. And then also, I wouldn't sleep on the play-in teams: Dallas, Memphis, the Spurs, and the Warriors.
Yeah, if Golden State finds their game, you never know.
They get healthy. Yeah, you never know. You could see some upsets. But the West is super stacked, whereas the East, to me, honestly, after the Knicks, there is a bit of a fall off between the Pacers and the Bulls. The Raptors aren't what they were. So. But, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be really interesting playoffs for the NBA. And, again, just really, really excited that with this late in the season, it's been a while that the Knicks are still relevant still at this point in the year.
Yeah. So. Well, and look, we talked about it before the season about the new GM coming in, said that they were going to change and find an identity, and they've looked to do that. But it is so important for New York basketball that is not a one-season thing. And that's,
and I don't think it will be as long as these guys stay healthy. Randall's only 26. Obviously, you got Quickly and Barrett, the guys you just drafted the past couple of years. They're super young. That is a good young core. You have the veteran Derrick Rose off the bench kind of as a mentor. Again, I think the Knicks, legitimately, they're one legit scorer away from being right there with Brooklyn and all those other teams because of their defense, because of their defensive identity, where they've won games by stealing the ball. I've seen it before. I've seen it this year where they've made defensive stands, and like that's 90s Knicks basketball.
Right, and can you imagine what's going to happen when they have a full Madison Square Garden to play in front of? Hopefully that's not a bad thing for them.
And well, honestly, I think it won't be. I think that they also started to really they got a boost when they opened it up to 10% of the capacity crowd. You saw that. Yeah. The Knicks are playing, and like most teams, the Knicks play better at home.
Yes.
Anyway, so I think that is going to only help this team. It's exciting to be a Knicks fan.
Well,
I wore a Knicks shirt the other day for the first time in literally 3 years.
Wow.
So.
Wow, Ray, I'm proud of you, man. You know why? Because they didn't sit on it. They changed. They evolved. And when they made evolutions, the team got better. Imagine that. They weren't just worried about the bottom line.
Unbelievable.
You hear that, James Dolan?
Anyway, so we're wrapping up here the second half of our special week here with the show, with the episode, episode 104. Again, go back and listen to 103.5 to get the first half of the week's stories. That was a good episode, too, on Twitch. But we're moving now into our mashup. We, of course, talked about Zemo doing all his dance moves and all that other stuff. I'm sorry if you can hear the garbage truck here, because it's every day is garbage.
What kind of a show is this, Ray?
Every day is garbage day here in LA. So
I love how you go back and forth from like praising LA and like ripping Philly to hating LA and wanting to be in Philly.
It's a love. LA is definitely a love-hate relationship. Yes. There are definitely some amazing things out here, and then there's also some definitely where you just wonder how this city has this many people in it and how it's supposedly thriving. Anyway, moving on to our mashup.
We need you to hope again.
I need LA to have a Knicks-like turnaround.
No, you don't. You need to get out of L.A. They did. They won the NBA championship last year.
Yeah. And then had a super spreader event to celebrate.
They did.
Anyway,
They did, and that's why California.
Yeah. Let's see. So our
Mashup.
mashup. Are we talking about the Zemo dance moves? Sorry. So we want to know, what sports athlete could you watch again and again and again for an hour? And I'm going to kick it off because mine is pretty easy. Came immediately to mind.
Well, wait. Is this like the same play over and over again, or just highlights of this player for an hour?
I would say the same highlight over and over again.
Okay.
The same, specifically same kind of move. And for me, the first one that I thought of was Jose Bautista, Joey Bats, the bat flip that beat Texas in the playoffs a few years ago for the Toronto Blue Jays. Because that was an epic bat flip that actually would lead to bad blood between those two franchises for a couple of years. But it was an epic kind of move, and if you're talking about like a Zemo dance move, well, that's kind of the celebration that you kind of think of. And so for me, first thing I thought of as it's baseball season was Joey Bats, the bat flip a few years ago in the divisional round of the playoffs against the Texas Rangers. Just flipping the bat. That's it. Walk off. Blue Jays win. Don't say that too often. Lee, what about you?
Oh, man, I went through a bunch in my head here. One is any epic Mike Tyson knockout.
Ooh, that's a good one.
He just was so powerful. I mean, it's a shame now that the younger generation doesn't understand how powerful of a boxer he was. But when he knocked someone out, there was legit a question of, is that guy dead? Every time. Yeah. Right? In hockey, there's a lot.
Tyson's in AEW now, by the way.
Oh, that's incredible. Well, that's not a new place for him, right? He did WWF back in the day.
Yeah, no, he has a long history with wrestling, and now he's doing an angle with Chris Jericho, which should actually be a lot of fun. So
the other one in hockey, there's a lot, but hockey plays are so quick, Ray, that it's tough for me to pick one. But this one's going to be cliche and obvious, and very homey of me. But man, I could watch the Phillies special all day. All day. I could watch Nick Foles beat the Patriots all day on that play. That was a special play. And I have watched that, maybe not an hour, but I've watched that play a lot. I've watched documentaries on that play. As a Philadelphia football fan, that is one of the greatest sports moments in this city's history. But top 5, if not top 3. Actually, now I'm thinking about it. That's probably a top 2. Yeah. No, outside of winning. But that was amazing. And then Brad Lidge, 2008, perfect closing record to win the World Series. I can watch him throw that last pitch against the Tampa Bay Rays over and over and over again. Drops to his knees, starts praising to God. Chooch comes running out, tackles him. Those winning moments, I'm sure you have several of those as well. I could watch them
for sure. I mean, I always think back to 96 when Charlie Hayes catches the pop-up against the Braves and the Yankees win their first World Series in my lifetime, right? Same thing, right?
That must have been nuts.
Oh, it was crazy. I went absolutely ballistic.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that. I mean,
like 11, 12
popped him up. Hayes off a third. Hayes settles under and he makes the catch. Ball game over. World Series over. The Yankees win. The Yankees win. Then Wade Boggs riding the horse around the outfield. Yeah, it was great.
They won that game? I couldn't tell there. No, I was going to say, were you 11 years old, 12 years old when that happened?
I was 11 when that happened,
wow,
yeah.
That's the perfect age to win a World Series. I was 26. Yeah. Anyway, so, it was...
I would say that, also the Tyree head catch.
I was going to say that's got to be up there for you. I remember that play, too. I remember watching that play not as a Giants fan, thinking the Pats were going to win that game. And I was like, wow, that was a catch. We got to give... who made that one? Was that Beckham? That made that one-handed catch in the end zone as a Giant
against the Cowboys in the regular season.
Yeah, remember that?
Yes, that was Beckham. Yeah,
that is
the game they still lost. They still lost that. It was a great catch, but they still lost that game.
That's why it's not on anybody's top 5 lists. But obviously we got a few here, but we want to know what you think. Yeah.
So let us know. Comment below.
Over.
Yeah. Yes. What you can watch over and over and over again. So we hope you watch the episode over and over and over again, and that
any of them,
all of them, preferably,
yes.
But we got a lot of stuff happening.
Come on.
Yeah. We have a lot of stuff here going on at Geeks Who Like Sports, like we mentioned at the top of the show.
do.
Check out the store.
If you've made it this far, I'll tell you this. We can't go into detail, but Ray and I are working on several projects that we're hoping to bring to light this year, and hoping to expand the Geek Sports universe even more. The GSU.
Yeah, the GSU.
All right. We also got to give a really big shout out to our producer and editor, Caitlin, who does all the clever titles you see at the bottom of these episodes. She is as much a part of this show as we are. And I don't think we'd be able to get as far as well as we did without her. So just a big thank you to Caitlin Reese, our producer and editor and friend, for all the work she's done on Geeks Who Like Sports. Now she's being bashful in her office, when she's editing this. But that's what I do. I make her go like this. Oh, you guys. That's not what she sounds like at all, by the way. But thank you, Caitlin. Thank you for being part of our team. And all of you out there listening. Obviously, we don't do the show unless you're listening, so we appreciate you as well.
Yeah, no, we do. We do very, very much appreciate all of you so much. And, like Lee said, we got a lot of stuff in the works. We're going to start going next week. We're going to start doing this live on Saturdays.
Live! We're going to
doing it live on twitch.tv/Ray Carcillo. So be sure to check that out.
Just in case the people don't understand that reference, just search Bill O'Reilly Do It Live. That's all you need to do.
Yes.
You'll understand the reference.
Yeah, so...
Caitlin, I'm talking to you.
So check... So check all of that out. It'll be we got a lot of stuff going on, like Lee said. Again, check out the store, check out the Facebook group, the Instagram, the Twitter, share it with your friends. We really do appreciate it. If you have anything to say to us that you want to say in public, email Ray at geekswholikesport.com or Lee at geekswholikesport.com. Be nice.
You don't have to be nice. You don't have to be nice.
I deal with enough angry emails every day.
Actually, that's a good point. If you want to be nice, email Ray. If you don't want to be nice, you can email me. I'll take it. That's fair.
You go.
That's fair. I'm going to start sending you angry emails now from Lee at Geeks Who Like Sports.
Thanks. But yeah, so thank you. Seriously, thank you all so much for tuning in. We really always do appreciate it. For Lee, I am Ray. This has been episode 104 of Geeks Who Like Sports. We will see you next week, everybody. Hopefully, again, join us on Twitch, twitch.tv/Ray Carcillo. Check the schedule for the time. Most likely 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, but we will definitely keep you updated on the Facebook group and all those other places to let you know. But please do tune in.
And we will still be releasing the podcast naturally as well. So
yes, the podcast will still be released, of course, on Apple Podcasts and Google Play and iHeartRadio and everywhere else, Spotify and everywhere else as well. And so for Lee, I am Ray, and this has been episode 104 of Geeks Who Like Sports. Good night, everybody.
Cue the music.